Hi, everyone, and welcome to our community roundtable, in which we're going to discuss the upcoming roadmap update. As you know, on the 21st of October, we're launching the BeamX DAO, and at the same date, we're also going to publish our roadmap update, just to make things interesting and keep everyone, at the cliffhanger. So first of all, before we begin talking about the future, let's review what happened this year. And it was like very long ago, but in February, we have released the atomic swaps with Ethereum, including Ethereum itself, USDT, RegBTC, and few more tokens. But the milestone that we are mostly interested in right now is the release of our confidential DeFi infrastructure, specifically the smart contracts on Beam chain. And that happened during our latest hard fork, the third hard fork, back in August. And as a part of this massive upgrade to our infrastructure, we have actually released several features. The first of which, of course, is the Beam virtual machine based on the WebAssembly technology. And it was integrated with our currently running Lelantos Mimblewimble protocol, so that now Beam has an ability to run smart contracts and confidential transactions that can go into the contracts and then perform various operations and both consume and emit UTXO. So it's basically kind of a hybrid model between what you have in cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, where we use UTXOs to transfer value, and cryptocurrencies like Ethereum that use account-based model. So in Beam, you have actually the combination of both of these models together. And we have called these contracts Beam shaders. We thought it was a cool name, but it definitely has a cool architecture, which I will explain in a few minutes what exactly we did there. And obviously this is supported in all of our wallets. Right now, the desktop wallet has a full support. As usual, the desktop wallet is the first one to be developed. And very soon, all of the rest of the wallets will also have support for smart contracts and decentralized application. We have also integrated the DApp store, the Decentralized Application Store, into the wallet so that the access to these applications that we have will be simpler. And we will talk more about that. So as I mentioned, under the hood, we have the WebAssembly virtual machine. And it means that we can develop smart contracts using several different languages that can be compiled into WebAssembly. So we have obviously started with C++ because this is what Beam is implemented in, and this is what the team knows best. But you can also implement smart contracts for Beam using Rust or Go, or basically any other language that can be compiled to WebAssembly. Now, our contracts have very different design from what, like most of you are probably used to in Ethereum and similar cryptocurrencies. So in addition to the contract shader, which is the same as the smart contract running on chain, we have an additional layer we call an application shader or app shader. And this shader is also WebAssembly smart contract, but it's running in the wallet. And the idea behind this application shader is that in order to create transaction that goes into the smart contract on chain, you need to provide a lot of different signatures and encryptions and do a lot of operations, which is very difficult. It's not as simple as just using an API to send the transaction to Ethereum, which is why this application shader layer is usually provided by the creators of the contract on chain, and it allows you to simplify the process of creating transactions for the application developers. And then the third layer is the application frontend, can be developed using standard web technologies such as HTML, JavaScript, or framework like Angular or React. And this multi-layer architecture makes everything very kind of modular and flexible. So for example, you can take several existing contracts that run on chain and then create a new application shader, kind of combining all of them together with additional operations and create a front for that. And for example, if you are familiar with projects that provide all kinds of combined DeFi transactions that go from one application to another. So this is something that's possible to do. And you can also take an existing application and modify its front end relatively easy. So this kind of architecture provides us with a lot of flexibility in building those applications. So today we're going to talk about three kind of separate lanes that we have within Beam today: the infrastructure, the BeamX DAO, and the decentralized applications themselves. Okay, so let's do it like this. I will run through the presentation, and if you have questions, just write them down or write them in the chat. The chat is best, actually, and then we will go over them. In the end, it will be simpler for me. So first version that will be released right after or very closely after the launch of the BeamX DAO on the 21st, and we will talk about that a little bit later, will be the 6.2. Currently, we have 6.1. The 6.2 is the next number, and it will have several major improvements and applications and features, starting with the web wallet. We actually hope to release the web wallet this week, even before the 21st, to simplify adoption. But the idea is that we currently have desktop wallet and we have the mobile wallets for the mobile phones, iOS and Android. The web wallet will be similar to MetaMask. So it will be Chromium extension that you will be able to install on any browser that's based on Chromium platform. It will obviously support confidential assets. It will also in the future allow asset swaps, as next feature that we'll talk about in a minute. And it will simplify third-party integrations. And of course, it will also facilitate bridges, which is one of the major topics that we're going to discuss today. A lot of people are used to MetaMask and similar wallets. People like them. They're simple to use. They're reliable. So we think it will be a great addition to our ecosystem. And as I mentioned, the first kind of very stripped down thin alpha version will be, I hope, released this week. And then we will continue expanding and improving it until it becomes as fully featured as the desktop wallet itself. The second feature that will be released in 6.2, also starting with the desktop, will be the asset swap. The asset swap is the ability to exchange and trade assets within the wallet. I'm talking about confidential assets. As you know, Beam supports creation of new tokens. We call them confidential assets. You don't need a smart contract to do that, unlike Ethereum, where you need an ERC20 contract. In Beam, this is the level 1 functionality supported by the node, and you can just run a command, lock the security deposit of 3000 Beam, and create a new confidential asset. Confidential assets can also be created by contracts, which make them even more usable because unlike an asset that's created just by a wallet that can be emitted or burned at any time, in the contract, you can always see exactly the rules by which this asset is created. And one of the first examples is our BeamX DAO contract, which creates a new asset called BeamX, which will be the governance token for the BeamX DAO, and I will explain about this later. The asset swap, unlike our current atomic swaps, which allow you to exchange assets between different chains, because confidential assets exist within Beam, to swap them, you only need a single transaction, single simple Beam transaction, which means very fast, very secure, completely confidential. So let's say I want to send you some amount of asset A in exchange for another amount of asset B. There will be an offer board, just like in atomic swaps. I create an offer, somebody accepts it, and the transaction takes place. And within 1 minute on average, it's complete, and we have exchanged the assets completely securely and atomically. The offer board will work through our SVBS, which is the decentralized in-wallet and in-node encrypted messaging system that we use today for creating interactive transactions and also for atomic swaps. And of course, we will also provide an API for that, just like we have today for atomic swaps, so that external market makers can trade assets using this marketplace. So the asset swap is coming in 6.2 desktop soon after the release of the DAO on the 21st. Probably it will be somewhere beginning of November. And obviously, we have also added support for mobile wallets to allow to run decentralized applications. And this is going to be 6.2 mobile. This functionality is actually ready. It's being tested right now, and probably will be the first one out of the 3 to be released immediately after the 21st. The next version after that, which is a little bit later, probably by the end of the year, will be the 6.3. And it is worth waiting for because, first of all, it will include at least the first version of the Beam Ethereum bridges. So the idea is that we will be able to move existing assets from Ethereum to Beam and back. And the complete version will include completely decentralized design, which means that we will have a smart contract on each chain that is able to verify the state of the contract on the opposite chain. And the relayer, the entity that actually sends transactions and moves information between the chains, will be trustless. It will use optimistic rollup design, which means that the transaction will be sent, and then in case somebody detects some discrepancy, it can be disputed. And the most difficult part of this architecture is to define and figure out exactly this incentive model and the security deposit that the relayer needs to lock on each chain to make sure that everybody stays honest. So we're kind of working on that. It's like the most heavy part of the development. However, the basic version is already almost ready. We have shown a demo of it. It will be very simple to use. It will work with our web wallet and allow you to actually lock some assets on Ethereum and get the wrapped asset on Beam, trade it confidentially, either between wallets or using decentralized financial applications, and then if needed, move it back to Ethereum and trade it there. So it's going to be super cool. We're very excited about that. Working very hard to make it happen as soon as possible. Definitely a game changer for us. The second major feature of 6.3 is D-squared App Store. It's a decentralized application store. So right now, the App Store that we have in our wallet is centralized. It's just a JSON served from a centralized server. However, we have already added an ability to distribute applications as standalone files, basically an archive, including all of the application files, and then you can load it into your wallet locally. And these files can be downloaded from the website, from torrent, from wherever. But what we like to do here is to provide a decentralized mechanism of actually distributing the applications using our SBBS, which means that you will be able to send your application to SBBS, which you created or packaged, and sign it with your author signature if you want to. Obviously, if there is an audit, also sign it with the auditor signature. And then inside the decentralized app store, you will see that this author created this application. That's the auditor who verified it, all of the necessary information. And in our opinion, it's a major breakthrough, because one of the most kind of limitations, like one of the, let's say, strictest limitations of many of the currently running decentralized applications, let's say on Ethereum, is the centralized front, right? You want to go to the app, you go to some website, you connect a MetaMask wallet, but this specific website is not decentralized, it's centralized. Because we can package applications with inside our wallets, we can actually make it completely decentralized, and it's going to be very, very interesting. The last but very not least thing that we are currently working on is the development SDK for Beam shaders. Right now, as I mentioned, you can implement shaders using several languages, but whatever you are using, you need to understand exactly which methods we provide in our virtual machine, how to use it. It's not very simple to do, much more difficult right now than learning, let's say, Solidity. And we are aware of that. So we're providing documentation as well as a lot of samples and examples, how to use it. And it's an ongoing effort. And we hope to have something basic, including SDK and probably some development and debugging tools for our contracts somewhere around the end of the year. One of the key components is our partnership program, in which we invite either people with ideas who want to create smart contracts on Beam, or existing projects that want to move to Beam to work with us. And we help a lot by providing both developers and guidance and a lot of help to get this started. And I will show some of the integration, some of the projects that we already have running. So if you know someone, or if you want to build on Beam, please reach out to us, reach out to me, and let's discuss it. We provide a lot of interesting ways to help and support. We're very interested, so let us know. Few more things that fall under, let's say, research category, because first of all, they're kind of further away. And second, they are up to discussion, let's say, right? How to do it, what to do it. So the first one is Ethereum virtual machine on Beam, a topic that was raised by many people many times. There are several pros and cons to doing that. Obviously, there are a lot of developers out there who work with EVM, many projects already running on EVM that would be easier to port. So that's kind of one of the things that we would like to hear your opinion about. The other topic is the layer 2 scalability. So right now, Beam has on average 1 block per minute, which is obviously not enough to support any serious DeFi traffic, as we know. So there are several ways we can think about improving that, layer 2 optimistic rollups or some other ideas. So this is kind of another research topic we're definitely working on. At the same time, we will probably try to minimize miner extractable value by providing some committed ordering of transactions to reduce front running, to reduce ability of miners to throw away transactions or to change their order to their benefit. And sidechains is one of the ways, in addition to layer 2, that we can think about doing these things, because we can have a beam to beam like sidechain with a different consensus, probably a faster one, that will allow you to move value to a sidechain through a bridge and then trade it quickly or with any additional features. So this is some of the things that we are considering, thinking about, researching, etc. And if you have any ideas or opinions or advice, definitely welcome. One of the important things that we do have as a support in our infrastructure right now, but we still don't have enough of it exposed in the UI and the wallets, is the opt-in auditability. A lot of the integrations kind of have some of the benefits to have at least limited capacity or full capacity to report what you're doing to authorities if needed and be compliant with different regulations. And this basically includes the ability to create wallet KYC using the wallet signatures. So you can create a wallet and then authorize it with some external third party and give the same party the auditor keys, which will allow it to verify your transactions on chain if you want to. It's opt-in, obviously. And along with this information, you can provide also the information from your wallet, such as transaction documentation, transaction history, or anything else. And using mathematical proofs, it can be tied together. So if you really need to be compliant when using Beam, you can do it today. However, most of this functionality only exists on the infrastructure level and was never exposed. And this is another thing that we're thinking about or trying to figure out how to do it correctly. Okay, let's do some questions before we move to the DAO. Okay, who has questions, written something?
Some on the chat.
Some on the chat, let's see. Support pointers, yes, it does in a way. I'm sorry, I have to let some people in. Web wallet, layer 2, talked about it. NFTs, we'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there. It's in the next several slides. Download those directly from Beam wallet to save. Yeah, you can. I mean, you want to download the. Yeah, we can think about that as well. Not a problem. Okay, I think. Not going to dive too deep into layer 2 and bridges right now, but in general, that's the direction. Yeah, so basically, once the bridges are available, you can wrap USDT or USDC or any other token or almost any other token that we have on Ethereum and move it to Beam and trade it confidentially. Okay. let's move on. All good? Yeah. So the BeamX DAO. The BeamX DAO is actually an important step towards decentralized governance. Right now, as you probably know, Beam is governed by Beam Foundation, which has an independent board of directors. And our goal with the DAO is to, within, let's say, about 2 years, move completely to the DAO-based governance structure. And what it means is that right now, the 21st is the kind of the launch of this effort, the launch of this entire process. And the first thing we're going to do is to create the DAO core contract. The DAO core contract is the first contract in series of many that will be deployed as part of the DAO. And it will emit 100 million BeamX governance tokens. And these tokens are going to distribute it into several categories in general. And we have published a lot of explanations and articles in Medium about how we think about doing this. So right now, what you see in front of you is kind of the current distribution model in which the 36%, which is one of the largest pieces of the pie, will go to the community in form of adoption and liquidity mining. And there is a 20% development fund, which is not going to the team. It's going to the external developers that will join the effort within these 2 years and help to move the ecosystem forward. So it's very unfortunate naming. A lot of people thought it's going to the current developers of the project. It's not. The piece that is going to the current development is called the foundation, and it's going to the current Beam Foundation that will continue distributing these funds to the current team. And there are also 20% allocated to investors, out of which we have distributed the first round, which is about half of that, so 10%, for $2 million that we raised for this effort. And there is also a small, well, what happened here? Small part of the pie called the ecosystem partners, various organizations that we are working with that helped us and are helping us with marketing and many other efforts. So all of these funds have vesting, so it's not something that you receive immediately in full amount. And there are two types of vesting, the 2-year and the 4-year vesting, as you can see on the left. So this is the allocation that's happening on the 21st when we launch the contract. So the first thing that will be available to you as a community is this kind of risk-free staking program in which you will be asked to stake Beam, and you will be able to harvest Beam or farm or whatever the word, BeamX. It's risk-free because you can get back your Beam at any time, and you will still have all of the BeamX that you have farmed during this time. And it's biased towards the time parameter. So obviously, the more you stake and the longer you stake, you will get more BeamX. But it's better to stake for a longer period of time because we didn't want to, have some whale come and, make huge allocations. So the longer you stake your Beam, then you will get more BeamX as a result. The formula is also published in the article. Please take some time to study. And this is the application that will be live once we launch the contract on mainnet. About 2 days before the 21st, we will announce the actual block height at which this contract will be activated. And right now you can experiment with it on testnet. Just download the testnet wallet and stake some testnet Beam. If you don't have testnet Beam, we will provide you with ones. Okay. So next step after the launch of the DAO, and this staking program is about to go for like three months. So this next step that we will develop during that time will be the voting. So voting is not just an application, it's also a process of how the proposals are discussed, raised using the Beam forum. So you can create a proposal, you can gather some support for your proposal, and then at some point, this proposal can be raised to a vote. And the proposals will be probably divided into two types, like binding and non-binding. Non-binding is basically a poll where you can just provide your opinion. Binding proposal is something that the DAO is committed to making happen. And in the next 3 months, we're going to work together with you through all of this process and define it exactly so everybody knows what he's doing. The voting will be probably divided into periods like it's done in most cases. Obviously, vote by staking BeamX, which is the governance token, and your votes will count in the proportion of the BeamX that you stake. We do want to make this real. We do want to make this work like a true DAO. It's not a, it's our intent to slowly, over like relatively long period of time of about 2 years, to move the entire governance of Beam protocol to this structure. And this is how we're getting started with that. And the third part of the DAO, which is also very interesting, and I don't know many examples of other DAOs doing it like that, but it's an ability of the DAO to adopt DeFi applications. And what it means is that an application can either raise a proposal to join the DAO. Let's say you have some trading application or whatever. And the benefit here is twofold. From the application side, it gains the traction, the user base, and the liquidity in the DAO. And from the DAO side, it gains some of the control over the application and also some of the profits that this application creates, and these profits are accumulated in the DAO. So it has mutual benefits for both the application and the DAO. That's how we envision it. And obviously, in order to be adopted into the DAO, the creator of the application will need to implement some kind of interface, I call it iVotable or whatever, that actually provides some of the control to the DAO. So the DAO can vote on different parameters of the application or make decisions together with the creators of the application, and in return receives some of the benefits that the application creates. Okay. So this is the overview picture that you probably saw if you're following our channels of how we envision our confidential DeFi ecosystem. In the middle here, you see the Beam, the current blockchain, the layer 1, confidential by default. And then the first kind of layer is the platform that we have been developing for the last, I think, like a year. That includes smart contracts, as we discussed, decentralized bridges, confidential assets that we already have, oracles that provide external information to the blockchain, and the dApp store. And then in the outside shell, you can see various types of applications that this platform can support. Basically, all of the key types of applications that you have on Ethereum today or any other DeFi platform, including stablecoins, AMM, it should say, based swaps, voting, which is going to be confidential, very important, lending and synthetics using oracles or any other mechanism. So this is how it's going to look in general. Obviously, we're not going to develop everything ourselves. We're working with partners, and we're looking for more partners to develop these applications. But this is kind of the map of the world that we are building. Let's take some questions before we move on. Okay, let's see. Testnet beams can be requested, yes, from Brasco. Token voting one-to-one. I'm not sure what you mean. Can you explain, Zach? You can unmute yourself and ask your question if you want to, or you can type it. Yeah, Zach.
Yeah, like a lot of voting systems are, I think, quadratic based, where they're not, perfectly linear, where it helps with smoothing out whales. So is it one-to-one all the time, or is there different rules?
No idea. Still working on that, and
Okay.
we will definitely discuss all the steps with the community as we go along.
Okay, cool.
Next question: buying and exchanging BeamX once it's farmed. So as I mentioned, probably You can never be sure, but probably the first place to trade BeamX will be through the asset swaps. You can never know whether some exchange will somehow. So basically, obviously, we are rooting and working on that, but it might happen just like it happened with Beam in the very beginning, that suddenly it appeared on different exchanges. Obviously, exchanges that have already integrated Beam, it will be much easier for them to add BeamX, just yet another confidential asset on Beam. So yeah, we don't have any specific updates on that. Does your Beam leave your wallet when they are staked? Are there any risk of not receiving back your stake Beam? Okay, so yes, your Beam do leave your wallet. They go into the contract. Basically, what you're doing, you're depositing your Beam into the contract. Within the contract, you will have an account. This account is identified by a public part of a secret key that's stored in your wallet. And the only risk of not getting them back if there is a bug in the contract. The contract was audited. We tested it. You can test it right now on testnet. Should not happen, but you know, it's smart contracts. So, but they are into your account. The law, let's say every block, if your Beam is staked in the contract, you will just get more BeamX, right? So it's basically a deposit. They are there, nobody's touching them, and the calculation of the BeamX you're gaining is proportional to what you have staked in relation to what others have staked. So that's it. Yeah. Similar to previous questions, is there any risk when recovering wallet from seed while having Beam inside? No, it's not a problem. So everything, all of the secrets are only related to the seed. So if you just delete the wallet and then restore it from the same seed again, you will have access to exactly the same accounts in your contract. Try it on testnet. It's better to see it with your own eyes, but it's not a problem. I'm sorry, I cannot give you permission to record, but this recording will be uploaded to wherever you want, and obviously to our YouTube as well, probably slightly edited. Okay, soft date for the release of additional documentation and tutorials. Not exactly, but please either contact me directly or go to our development support channel, and we will do everything we can to help you with your specific questions until they're there. And I will also point you to some work in progress on that. So we do have an SDK in progress, and it's an open repository, but it's far from perfect. Okay, that's amazing. So going back to the presentation. Oh, I'm sorry, I kind of froze out some people who were waiting to join. Okay. All good? We continue, Amir?
Yes, everything seems to be answered.
Perfect. So Beam token standard, and we will get to NFTs immediately. One of the key elements that we do want to build is the ability to create standardized marketplaces for various things on Beam. And in order to do that, we need something similar to ERC20 or ERC729 or ERC1155 and all of the standards that we have on Ethereum. So we call it Beam token standard. And it will include the design for a unified minter, an application that's running on chain and can create new assets that are not confidential assets that are layer one, but rather new tokens on Beam that will follow some standard, and this standard will be fungibility agnostic, which means that it will support both fungible and non-fungible tokens alike. And it will actually allow unified marketplaces. Which brings us to the next point of the confidential NFT that I was previously asked here in the chat about. And it's this cool ability that I don't think exists anywhere else to take the NFT that was minted using this unified minter or in any other way and move it into the wallet, basically remove it from blockchain in a way by transforming it into a new type of confidential asset with a single or like amount, right, of one just for this specific NFT. And then you can trade it confidentially just like a confidential asset between wallets. And when you want to sell it back, you just put it back on chain. And it's kind of similar to when you are going to a gallery or an auction and you buy a picture, a real one, and you bring it home and put it in your vault. And then at some point you want to sell it again. But in between, you can sell it confidentially with your kind of, confidential art lovers. So that's something that is possible on Beam. Very interesting feature. And we are definitely going to use that. The last kind of topic out of the 3 lanes that I have mentioned in the beginning is dApps. And dApps can be roughly divided into 2 categories: the DeFi, decentralized financial dApps, and all the rest. So there are no surprises in the DeFi apps. Anything that currently exists on other blockchains can be built on Beam. And if you want to build something like that, we will help you. And we are also working with and looking for more partners to develop these kinds of applications. This means price targeted assets, aka stablecoins, asset balancing contracts, aka MMs, Oracle-based assets, aka synthetics, and anything in between. So no surprises here. The second part is more interesting in a way, or also very interesting. And we are also working with partners on non-DeFi apps. We call this partnership studios, so we can support studios that create these applications. And I would like to share with you some examples of, or more like teasers of upcoming projects. So the first one is kind of our in-house studio. We called it NFT, and it's games and simple kind of applications, community engagement applications that we are going to both launch. It's going to be fun. And we're going also to provide all of the sources as part of the examples for developers. So you can copy paste and change some parameters and launch your own application. So as you can see here, we have the gem puzzle that you can solve and get a prize. In the middle, we have this, I call it a club application. You join the club, and then there are giveaways and some kind of engagement options. And on the right, you see this NFT gallery. You can upload NFTs, including direct upload to the blockchain if images are small enough. And we also already have some working examples, and we have showed the demo of that. So it's working. You can launch it. You can play with it. The second project is much bigger, and it's called Beamer Z, and it's going to be a game, NFT-based collector game where you create your avatars from different attributes that you buy or trade. As you can see here, it's much more kind of serious effort, a lot of graphics involved. It's going to be very cool. But together with that, it has all of the classic attributes of, the class and the beamline and the different properties and weapons. And then, of course, in the next stage, after these NFTs are created, you can fight or trade or do a lot of cool stuff. Very interesting project. We're working on that. I'm very eager to see it, moving forward. It's going to be epic. And the last one is kind of this top secret project. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but look for this logo in different places, and obviously we'll announce once it launches. But what is interesting about this project is that it's a game that actually takes advantage of the fact that this is a confidential DeFi blockchain. So it will probably not be recreated on Ethereum exactly like that, because it does take advantage of the fact that you have privacy, so you can do things in secret. It's going to be very interesting as well. Okay, this concludes the formal part of my presentation, and now we can move to the fun. Let me open the chat here, see if there are any new questions.
Yeah, there is one from Zach. Third one.
Functionality to create our own DAO similar to the BeamX DAO. Yes, of course. Anytime. Anytime, and you will have confidential voting. You will have your own token. You can distribute it however you like. Yeah, no problem at all. And by the way, you're welcome to look at the contract, and you will see that it's fairly simple. By the way, two interesting updates for kind of more technical people, but we have recently added an ability to support multi-sigs. So you can actually control your DAO contract using several signatures, right? So you can create a contract that can only be modified or upgraded when several people sign on it. Very important functionality. Works very well through SBBS. So we have that, and obviously the contracts are upgradable. So the upgrade works in a way that you publish an upgrade, and then the community can accept it, and then it goes into effect on a certain block height, right? So all of these processes are regulated. You can vote for the upgrade to be enabled. A lot of cool stuff there. Will team provide liquidity and CX listings for BeamX? We are working on that. No specifics yet, but yeah. Okay, who are main partners working independent platform layer 2? So right now we don't. I don't think we're going to announce the list of the partners we're working with. Layer 2, if you mean smart contracts, so yeah, we have several studios or several partners that we're working with. If we are talking about layer 2 scalability, as I mentioned in the middle, that's something else, and we're going to research that first ourselves before we start implementing that. Okay. Okay, so BeamX, we don't know right now where it will be listed, but the first place where we will definitely support it is the confidential asset swap inside our wallets. So you will be able to trade it there if you want. And it's coming with the 6.2 release, which will be probably in the beginning of November, mid-November. You mean the web wallet? The desktop wallet is there already. The web, if you are talking about the web wallet, Mike, where is Mike? Yeah, it's an application. It's already the desktop wallet that supports applications already released. The applications already available on the testnet, and we will just launch it on the mainnet, and it will be accessible to you within your App Store icon in the wallet. And we will also try to release the web wallet before the 21st, so that even with the web wallet, you will be able to access the application. We do have several integration options. First of all, we have a wallet API. I'm answering the last question here, if you don't follow the chat, about the RPC for desktop wallet for external significantly heavy applications. Yeah, we definitely have an API already. It's documented. It does support dApps, so you can use the API for dApps. And obviously, you can also integrate with the web wallet once it's released. It also has an external API for integrations. Like, for example, the bridges are going to utilize a page that is going to be integrated with both Beam web wallet and MetaMask. So you can lock something on Ethereum using MetaMask and then move it to Beam using Beam wallet. Okay, so staking is for 3 months only. What happens after that? Several things can happen. First of all, we're working on voting, so it will be probably released. Second, we will see which applications, if any, appear, and then we will together decide what to do. Maybe continue the staking, maybe create a new type of staking, or do anything in between. So the 3 months is this kind of first initial adoption process, distribution of BeamX governance token, and then slowly we're going to move things forward. BeamX airdrop. You only have mobile wallet. It's a problem. You should get either desktop wallet or the web wallet once it is released, probably in the next few days. And then you will be able to get, it's not exactly an airdrop, but it's a staking, it's a risk-free staking program. You stake your Beam and then you get BeamX in return. We target all exchanges, especially the ones that will take us. but we don't pay for listing, so that kind of limits the offering very, very significantly. Okay. Yeah, hardware wallets. Okay, so the story of hardware wallets, and the guy is somewhere here crying in the corner. It's a very, very sorrowful, or whatever the word is. We have developed everything we needed for the hardware wallet integration with Trezor, and then they didn't take us. And then we wanted to release our own kind of self-signed firmware for the latest Trezor, the newer one. And then they continued changing the code, and the prototype they sent it didn't work, and we had to send it back. So it's almost ready, but it's not a priority right now. We kind of pushed it back, and it's a problem. A date for it's not an airdrop, it's a staking program, and it's the 21st this month. Yeah. So hardware wallets are not coming soon, but staking is coming on Thursday. And once again, we will announce the exact block height. So the contract will be launched, and it will be activated at a specific block height that will be announced probably a day or two before it happens. So follow our Twitter and other channel, Telegram, obviously, and other channels, because we will announce the specific height. Okay. Yes, this is actually a great question. So you do buy a ton of Beam or not, I don't know, I cannot solicit you to do anything. But you do need your Beam in your wallet to stake it, right? So don't do it directly from exchange or something like that. Please, like, see the Beam in your wallet before you deposit them into the contract. Yeah, definitely. And then you will get BeamX tokens, which will be governance tokens, as I mentioned, with all the benefits that will come with it. Yep, that's our Twitter. Thank you, Scarlett. Long time, by the way. I think I need to do another AMA in Africa. Marketing plans. We have marketing plans all the time, and not just plans. We're also doing marketing execution. We're working with agencies. We're working with, let's say everything that is not pumping, dumping, lying, or all of these things. So we do. The new people find out through our press releases that go out through legitimate agencies. We don't use, as my friend called it, expensive, cheap methods. Kind of cheesy influencers. We don't use those, but other than that, and obviously all of you can really help with spreading the news. Yeah, crypto YouTubers. Yeah, some of those we use, not all of them. Same with
there is someone raised their hand. MR.
Yes, MR, go ahead.
Hi guys. Hi,
Hi.
Alex. Really nice meeting you people over the internet. I can see you've been, you are really doing a lot of great stuff and a lot of technical updates. That's amazing. And my question is more to do from investing point of view. So I'm not that technical, but I've been in crypto for a long time, and I am kind of, increasing the value of my holdings. And how do you see Beam as a token of a store of value? Do you see it as something which would, continue appreciating, or would you rather say it is just a transactional token and it shouldn't be considered a store of value? I just want to know your opinion. For people to kind of, do we need to invest in it? Do we need to wait for that 10x, 40x, or to the moon thing? Because for some of us, that's why we are in crypto.
Okay.
Thank you. That's a very bold question, maybe, but
No, it's a great
cutting
question.
the chase here. Thank you.
Sure. So obviously, I cannot predict the future. Predicting is hard, and the future is especially difficult in this regard. But about the structure of the Beam token. So when we have started back in 2019, we have said that it's more of a store of value because of the emission schedule that we're using that is similar to Bitcoin with capped emission with periodic halving, which kind of makes it, if we compare between Ethereum and Bitcoin and these kind of camps, makes it more in the store of value domain. However, having said that, once we have also added the DeFi components, I think that, and once again, I don't know what will happen to the monetary value of Beam, but I can definitely tell you what we are planning to achieve or what is our goal in positioning Beam in this crypto world, which is changing all the time. The reason we have gotten from being just a confidential cryptocurrency, same as Monero or Zcash or any other kind of existing cryptocurrency. Dash was a confidential cryptocurrency back then, but then they said they're no longer, never mind. And the most kind of acute problem that we're trying to solve is the one of confidentiality in DeFi, which causes you to have front-running attacks, whale monitoring, right? So you constantly see these Twitter accounts like whale alert, for example, wallet this and that, moved such amount from exchange to somewhere. And also we have minor extractable value issues, right? So if you can, by the way, interestingly, even NFT collectors, they tell us it's a problem because they can no longer show off their collections without everyone knowing their addresses and being able to track and monitor them. So it's even the issue for NFT collectors. And Beam is trying to be that place where you can trade confidentially. I think it will be attractive for serious traders. I think people are suffering from front running on Ethereum. And I don't think seriously DeFi can really, evolve properly without privacy. That's my honest opinion. And I think that our technological approach, because there's 3 ways people are kind of trying to achieve 4 ways, right? The most naive one is to creating new wallets all the time, new addresses, trying to not to mix them. But that's very, first of all, it's very, very difficult to manage. And it's also traceable once you have transaction, combining something from several addresses, you are also already tying them together. And more advanced approaches include trying to create layer 2 privacy on top of Ethereum or other chains. There are people who use ZK rollups and similar mechanisms that were primarily created for transactions and scalability issues, transaction per second and scalability issues. But they also have this side effect of privacy, because when you mix a lot of transactions together into a ZK rollup, you kind of gain privacy, even though there is a centralized component there usually. But our approach is to, first of all, start with level 1 privacy and then build DeFi on top of that. So we think it will be useful for DeFi, because we do see a lot of adoption right now. You see what's happening in the world. And we do think that privacy is a must, and that's where we want to be. We want to be this place for privacy, either as a side chain, as a bridge chain, a lot of interoperability games, integrations with centralized service providers, right, or whatever, so semi-centralized solutions, if you will. All of that, we think Beam will be there. When Lambo? I don't know, the latest Lambo.
I think just that repeated his question in other wording.
I see. Yeah, like you choose your cars according to your.
I think there is someone monitoring the community channel. I think someone is trying to get in.
Yep. Sorry about that. Okay. About Secret. So Secret Network is, I think, kind of a closest competitor in terms of value proposition. However, it's completely different technology. And the way Secret works, from what I understand and don't understand too much, is using secure execution environments inside the Intel processors. so that you have this kind of a separation inside the processor, which like some of the execution cannot be accessed from the outside. It's a completely different technological like idea, and everything is completely different. One of the main differences is that in their case, the calculations that go on inside the smart contract are not visible, while in Beam, the values that are stored inside the contracts and the operations on them are visible. That's kind of, it has pros and cons, right? So you can verify what's happening with the contract, and you can verify, obviously you don't know who owns these funds, or like there are no identity related information, but the calculations themselves are transparent. In their case, it's not. So yeah, they're doing great marketing. We like envy them, try to learn from them, but it's completely different technologically. But you know, the future will tell. We don't have any problem competing with anyone because we deliver and all is good. Aside from Solana, yeah, Solana is a good question. Less familiar with Phantom, TPS. Solana is, as you know, uses completely different consensus. It has 200 validators, and there are several levels of consensus. It's a great project. I think we will start probably from bridging with Solana. And at the same time, we were going also to improve our layer 2 scalability. Don't think we will reach those numbers so quickly, because the consensus we're using, the proof of work classic consensus, it will be probably more difficult. Another approach that we might take, as I have mentioned in one of the first slides, is that of sidechains. So we basically can create beam to beam like sidechain, right? Take one beam with proof of work consensus, the mainnet, and then create another kind of beam chain with different consensus. That's also possible. And we have been thinking about DAG and doing some research in that regard. And now we're thinking more maybe Avalanche. So there are several ideas rolling around, and you know, you're welcome to throw in more ideas or join efforts or suggest integrations. We are open to all of that. Solana, yeah, it's not centralized. It's more of this kind of, so by the way, one thing that decentralization is not kind of true or false, right? It's more of a scale. So you have completely decentralized on one hand and you have centralized on the other, but all the middle, the federated approaches, they, yeah, very, very greatly. Yes, you can have multiple wallet identities. Definitely, it's not a problem. So the way it works is basically just like standard hierarchical key derivation, right? Just like you have one seed in Bitcoin and can create many accounts or many addresses. So the same way it works in Beam. The only thing is that you will need to remember like more, or use kind of more indexes for that. But in general, when you develop an application, you can decide how the identities will be managed inside this application. You can allow users to have multiple identities, multiple addresses. It's up to the application developer, not a problem. Yes, high TPS is an easily understood marketing message. Privacy is much less so, that's for sure. But for some reason, yeah, so a lot of people kind of need privacy and say that, but it's going to be up to us to provide a really useful and integrated solution, so it will be both private and convenient, right? So people do value privacy, but not many are willing to pay with that for their convenience. Same from the decentralization, by the way. People prefer Binance to atomic swaps, even though atomic swaps are decentralized, but you know, Binance is Binance. Okay. Anything else? It's going well so far. It's been an hour already. Time flies. Any more questions, anyone? Or shall we wrap it up? Do you think we need to do another, thank you. Do you think we need to do another AMA, let's say on Telegram in the next few days? It was an idea from Tom, actually. Tom is somewhere here. I don't see him, but he's probably further down the list.
He's here. I see him.
Yeah, okay. So Tom suggested to have yet another AMA on Telegram in addition to this one. So we'll probably schedule something like that. Yeah, I agree. Yep. Quarterly Zoom, we do have something like that. It's not exactly scheduled as quarterly, but we did
And I have it every 4 months. Yeah.
We do have something like that.
Roughly before any roadmap update, we do a community call such as this, and it takes about every 6 or 4 months.
Yep. We did have AMA with Binance. There were a lot of people there kind of asking about moons. It was fun times. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. If you have any further questions, please ask them in either Twitter or in our Telegram community, and we will continue answering them there. Thanks a lot. It was great seeing so many people, and have a great day, evening, night, or whatever you're having.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.